Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. He won't say it, so I'll say it. It's Patrick Birdsong, the best real estate agent in the state of Texas. Will you claim it or will you let it go?
I mean, yes, internally, that's my message to myself. I'll take it. Thank you.
I love it. So, I'll let you start your story and kind of tell the listeners who you are, what you do, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
Great. Well, honestly, talking about real estate is a lot of fun and a great passion of mine. Where I am in my life, though, my personal life is where everything is. That's where I want to have the mind space, and having that shift where my mind stays in family mode, kid mode, is tough when you're making deals happen and you have clients constantly want your attention and you're trying to grow and make progress. And you have a 3-year-old who wants you down on her level, eye to eye, so she could tell you that she pooped her pants and not have anybody hear. But so I've been in real estate most of my life. I grew up in real estate. My dad was a broker, owner of his company. Honestly, was a killer, crushed it for a small town, doing about 20% of the sales in the town, 200 deals a year. And he would speak around the country. So I've seen this world, right? I grew up in it, and I never wanted to be in it. I always thought that I'd be a writer, or, we had the privilege of being these spacey ideas. And, I got to Austin, Texas to go to UT, and I didn't want to leave, and I didn't know what to do. So I went to work for a broker buddy of his, and she honestly showed me what could happen in real estate. Because my first year out of college, I just wanted to go be a ski bum or something. And I just said, I'm just going to go for a year, take a year, because I don't know what I want to do. And I'll just go skiing and I'll be a ski bum. And she said, well, what about this? What if you sold a few homes and you just took off a month and went skiing the whole month? And you didn't have to work while you were there. I was like, okay, this is the energy I want. Right. And so, I went to work for her. And while I was in college, I sold several homes. And right when I graduated, I went backpacking through Europe for 3 weeks and just kicked it, and came back and just have been grinding ever since. But, I guess it's been 20 years that I've been in this business. Yeah. But I didn't really get it until about 10 years ago, after I'd been married for a little bit. And I thought, I sold $5 or $6 million worth of houses, and I thought I was, king shit. And then I had my eyes open by seeing somewhat real production, what real people were doing with this business. And it was a game changer. So ever since then, we get to help a lot of people. And honestly, my mind shift lately has been I literally get to just connect with people all day. That's my job. I just get to see into their personal lives, what's going on. I'm one of the first people to hear that they're pregnant. They're building wealth. They want to talk about how they can do that in their lives. And you get to see this intimate part, right? And that to me is the gold. And I was missing that when this market kind of took off. I was really in a dark place. And I don't mind talking about this because I think it's important. Last summer, in the middle of the hottest market in the country, I relapsed again. I've been sober for mostly about 12 years. And I'd relapsed for the second time in 2 years. And, honestly, my wife had enough, but, who had more of enough of that guy was me. And when she gave me the opportunity, honestly, to go to rehab and really kind of get into it and figure my shit out, I ran. I was like, I don't like being that guy. Does anybody want to be that guy who wants to go sit in the garage and drink alone because he doesn't know how to deal with his shit? No. And we have 3 kids. I have a 7-year-old, And then I have twins that are almost 4. And like, these are the real moments. And I'm missing it because I'm feeling sorry for myself, making as much money as I've ever made, living in the house of my dreams, owning a second home, building wealth through real estate. And I was like feeling sorry for myself. But, and I'm going through a lot here, but that rehab was like, it was like a 6-week collegiate level course on me and what makes me tick and what makes me human and why do I feel sorry for myself? And why am I creating these situations where I'm self-sabotaging? And Austin, what I didn't realize is I felt like I'd never chosen anything in my life. I kind of just fell back on things. And I also realized I didn't think I liked myself. I never knew if I liked myself or not. And once I had time to just kind of, it was more of a sabbatical, I found out that like, I'm pretty fucking awesome. And I'm important in a lot of people's lives. And, this game of real estate can be pretty lonely, honestly, especially if you're trying to run a business by yourself. And what I realize is like, I have to be around people. I have to be talking to people every day. Frankly, it's not enough that I get like all this love from these 3 little girls and from my wife, right? Like I need to connect and be in people's lives intimately. And real estate's this great gateway to that. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I, almost a year out from that moment from when I was like, I guess I got caught drinking again. And where I got exposed to myself. And I'm really grateful that it happened. Like it should have happened a lot sooner.
What advice would you give to the guy that got caught drinking again as you sit today?
I would say, man, just stop lying to yourself. Stop pretending you don't have a problem. Stop just trying to, like, we're supposed to be these strong men and just be like bulletproof and not be vulnerable and not have weaknesses. And that's a load of shit. Like, it's not true, right? And I'm a therapy guy. I like going to therapy. It's one of those things that I like looking back and I like digging in, and I like being told like, hey, that's you're lying to yourself there. And one of my favorite things that my therapist said, he literally said for 2 or 3 years, it seems like every meeting he'd bring up this quote, and I never heard it. Like it was one of those things where I didn't hear what he was saying. But he quotes the movie Chariots of Fire. And he said, God made me fast. And when I run, I feel his pleasure. And it's like, where am I finding my pleasure? Like, where am I finding like where I get high on my own life? And I just keep going back to it. It's connecting with people. And then with my family, connecting with my wife. Like, there's no better feeling than being on the same page. Like, we're indestructible. We can do whatever we want in life if we're in sync. If I'm saying, wait, what do you mean by that? I really want to know. Like, I want to know. Like, I want to understand what you mean, honey. Because if I'm missing it, then like, and we're out of sync, like we're all over the place. And I feel lost. But when you have like a true partner in life that gets it, it's incredible feeling. And then with kids, like truly being present for them. And it's one of my non-negotiables. Like I take my kids to school every morning. I pick them up every day. It's rare when me, the man, doesn't do that. And I miss it some days. And I complain about it too. They're 3 little kids under the age of 8. It's hard. It's really hard. It's harder than any business thing. It's harder than the marriage. I hate to say that, but it is. It's you want to craft these kids and give them all this good energy, but they bitch and complain like we do, and they don't want to listen, and they're all over the place. And you see yourself in them. That's the harder part. You see them making these same mistakes or these same stubborn things that they do. And you're just like, you're upset because you do it more than they do it. Right. But that's the biggest thing is, like I said, I think it's every day reminding yourself of a few things. What can I control, right? The old stoicism that AA adopted. What can I control in my life? And what can I not? And letting go of the stuff you can't control. Like just get it out of your way and out of your head. And then and then just reminding yourself, like, we live this extremely blessed life. We live in the greatest time to be alive. Like, people that complain about 2022, I don't get it, man. This is the best time ever in the history of the world to be alive. You got to think, like 100 years ago, you shit in an outhouse. You didn't have toilet paper. Just 100 years ago, you had all these inconveniences. 10 years ago, you couldn't just look up stuff. I was watching an old episode of Seinfeld, and they're like arguing about, like a fact. And it's like, you don't have those conversations anymore. You just look that shit up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was trying to decide if I was going to make you cry or not. So I still haven't decided yet. So I'm going to move off for just a second. The kids are 18 and 24, give or take, right? They've moved on. Who moved on? They're doing their own careers. They're in college. Who would you want them to say dad was?
That's a big one, man. The biggest thing I'd want for them is for them to say, Dad taught me to be myself. Be who I truly am. He gave me this gift of true freedom. How do you teach somebody to let go of what all this stuff out there in the world is like trying to tell you who you're supposed to be? Because it comes at you hard. I mean, greatest time to be alive. It comes harder at you than any other time in your life too. 20 minutes on Instagram can ruin you or can inspire you, right? And it's being like comfortable with who they are, loving their life, and just feeling that freedom. It's like, I don't even care who they vote for, right? I just want them to know what it means to vote and to make a decision right. Like, I don't want to put anything on my kids, right? I want them to choose their life. And, that means making the mistakes, right? And I don't understand. And again, I'm not a parent of an 18-year-old, but I don't want that kid living in my house and being dependent on me the rest of my life. I don't get it. I want them out, making those mistakes and feeling the pain. And honestly, that was a gift my dad gave me. And part of the reason I almost chose to go home and work for him. And I'm glad he kind of just said, you don't want to be a big fish in a small pond, man. You don't. Go try being a small fish in a big pond. Like the worst thing that can happen is you fail. Like, that's it. Your life's not going to be over. And I'm glad I did. I mean, the first couple of years in real estate, I made like 12 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand. It was small money. It wasn't like I barely made it through a few years. But that freedom he taught me, like to rely on myself only, is now my greatest gift. I mean, it's a fun part about talking about real estate is we go hunting every day. We're the lions. And I have a good friend that's a real estate attorney, and she occasionally gets frustrated and talks about how much she makes on a deal versus, the real estate agent. And I'm like, but we're the hunters. We're the killers. We have to go out there and find it and put it together and make it happen. You're the field dresser. You go clean up the mess. You serve a very integral purpose, especially in commercial real estate, bigger transactions. But, without us, there isn't a deal. So, yes, we get the bigger pie.
Yeah, unplug your mic. I'm having some troubles. But yeah, it's so much true. We're out there, we're building the businesses, we're creating the space, we're pushing, we're getting the next deal, we're getting all these things. And there's these people at home, the kids, the wife, the whatever, that ultimately are really a representation of who we are. And if it's this weird thing, and I don't give a shit. It wasn't, now that I look back on it, it wasn't that great of a show, but I did watch Entourage, and it's very bad stuff if you look at it now, but that was the 90s. But Turtle wanted money from Ari for a business idea. And Ari said that the greatest concern in my life is that I knew I could give my son whatever I wanted because I had the options available. But I knew that if I gave him that thing, then he would not have the struggle to be great. And so there's this line between giving them a better life, but letting them think for themselves, but letting them fall. And man, as a parent, it's got to be the most, sometimes it's just got to rip you apart inside to see them fail and over again. But the parents that I have respected, the people that I've hung out with to watch their kids critically think, man, you know that kid's going to be so powerful when they get up because they're thinking for themselves. They're creating the space. They're thinking that second layer down. And man, it's so powerful when you can give that gift to your kids.
Well, I would say when we were talking about investing, like there's no intrinsic value on this, right? Like there's no ROI that I can track, but a lot of our money goes to our kids. Like we're investing in like their Montessori education, and they're in classroom settings where they choose what they work on that day. Granted, they get some structure, but it's this incredible environment. And I wish I had, known about it a long time ago, but when they are trying to solve a problem, they go to another kid in the classroom first and say, hey, I know you've worked on this before. Can you show me? Then if they can't figure it out, then they go to the assistant teacher. Then they go to the teacher. And then once my child has mastered it, she starts teaching the other kids. And then she does reports. She's been invited to like the younger classrooms to give a report. Like, what classroom setting does a kid get the opportunity to publicly speak at that age? I've never seen a program like it. And it costs a fortune. Like, it's a small fortune every year to pay for our kids to be there. But guaranteed best money I've ever spent. 100%. And, no disrespect to my parents for not creating that. But I mean, I was in public school and I was just trying to figure out how I could get out of class and go drink beer with my friends. There was no challenge. One of the worst things that happened to me is I got into UT in September of my senior year of high school. The acceptance letter, I was accepted because I was in the top 10% or whatever it was. You think I got anything done that senior year?
Okay.
I didn't. I was just a goof off. And no regrets, because it was a great time to be alive. But I also look back and say, if I can recreate that, which I can with my kids, I want them to be challenged because they're smart. And when they're not challenged, they're destroying things. And ultimately, like I did, kind of destroy yourself.
So I have a theory out there, and I wouldn't say it goes with everybody, okay, but I feel pretty good that it's vetted out. I actually think that people aren't mean, okay, and they're not rude. Now, hear me out. I think it's the fact that they haven't been challenged in a really long time, and they eat like shit, and they just feel bad.
Yeah,
that's my theory. Like, seriously, I don't think that they want to walk around and destroy other people's days. I think they just feel like shit. And here's my theory. If I take as much care of myself as I do, and I still feel like shit some days, then what does everybody else feel like?
That book, I probably mentioned a few times that I'm on my second reading of it this year. It's called Humankind.
Okay.
And it touches on this. It's the whole theory of the book is that innately humans are good and we mean well. And sometimes we get off track, but, and it touches on parents too. We have this great energy as parents in a modern era that we want to get our kids into every opportunity possible, when the kid just wants to be left alone with a stick in the mud. And they should have the freedom to just sit there and like just have no structure. And where does their brain go? But you're absolutely right. I mean, this is where that grace and compassion comes in. One of the beauties of AA, I really do love is, to your point, like, what are they going through where they're being mean to people they don't know? What's going wrong in their life? And
well,
you're
what's
right,
interesting
100%.
when I got sober, and I've shared the story a couple times, but there was like 3 guys. I mean, these weren't small guys. Okay. These are big motherfuckers. These are like dudes that worked out, probably on steroids. These are not like small dudes. They were all real estate investors. And in 3 separate occasions, they tried to fight me. And like in my face, like it's a whole thing. Like, I'm a really nice guy. I don't, and I'm like I kept leaving that experience and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and I found out that they were so upset that I was sober and happy that they couldn't get sober and happy. And it was the moment that I kind of said like, oh, like their attitude towards me has nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the moment that I stopped being the victim and I started having compassion.
Well, that 4 Agreements talks on that one big time. I cannot like recommend that book enough, right? And I'm like, stop assuming. Like, most of what people do in life has nothing to do with you, right? And I agree 100%. Like, the weirdest, most bizarre people that are the most deliriously happy are sitting in some of those AA rooms, and they shock people that are newly sober. Because why? They're like, why are you so happy? Like, you're an alien because you don't drink and you don't do, but they found their freedom and they found their life, and they realize happy is just being who they are, which is a goofy bastard in AA that doesn't mind calling people out.
How do you sit with the fact I've seen it myself, I've seen it in my clients. How do you sit with the fact is that you're a prominent agent in, an affluent neighborhood with a high profile job as an agent? Like, how do you sit with the fact where you finally, there's a lot of people lying to themselves out there. There's a lot of people hiding stuff because they don't want anybody to know. How did you, was there any shame around it? What, did you get over that? Did you tell people what happened? How did you, like, a lot of people just won't take the help because they don't want to break up this kind of fake world that they're living in.
So before I went, I had to get my affairs in order because I'm running a business here, right? And so what I did was I made a list. It was like 60 people long. It's almost like a step 9 in AA world, but I had to call all these people and say, hey, look, I got to take care of myself for about 6 weeks. I'm going to rehab. Yeah, you're important in my world. We have real estate dealings, whatever it was. And, like, people were amazing. I think a couple of people are weird about it and judge me, but it's kind of nice that they are self-selecting out of my life, right? It's a good thing. But the people that truly like stepped up and were helpful in my life, like, they're everything. And it's strange who does come out in your life and shows up. But I found it more freeing than anything else, mainly because I'm a pretty open guy. I've always been that way. And when I find something that's a solution for me, I love telling people about it. And I don't regret it at all. I mean, it was extremely expensive. It was disrupted my life. It almost broke my wife in a lot of ways because she took over my business. She's doing the kids. She had all these things, and the greatest gift she ever gave me. And if you're going to judge me over it, like, have fun having a short life and miserable life, because you got to be in a bad place to judge people that are truly being open and trying to fix their life and grow.
I'm sure I've shared the story with you. Maybe so, maybe I didn't. I don't really know. But I had a client who's an emergency room doctor or nurse. Have I told you this story?
I don't think so.
Okay, so this is what changed my entire coaching business. Like, literally, like I was done after this. Okay, so he's an emergency room doctor or nurse for 10 years. Him and his wife. He does it in San Francisco. It's not very pleasant most of the time in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And he said that for 10 years, he was always really, really short and mean to all the drug addicts that came in for food and IVs. Like he was short, like, fuck you, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. He's dealing with them all the time until I coached him. And he would look at them dead in the face. And he said, I've seen the other side of this, and it's my coach. And I know you can do this. What can I do to help? And I'm like, what? Like, by me living my best life, by me doing what I love to do, by me pouring into other people, I'm affecting humans that I don't even know in San Francisco. Like,
that's powerful. Yeah.
And then the same thing happened to me when I was in Nashville at a Jake and Gino event. Is 3 guys text me in the same weekend, and they said, hey, you don't know this, but I got sober because of you. And I was like, what the fuck are you? I haven't even talked to you in a year. They go, well, we saw that you were sober, and we decided if you're retarded ass could do it, then we know we could do it. And but it wasn't from me saying, hey, live your life better, don't drink, eat this, don't, like, it was me just being happy, healthy, and out there and sharing my story. And then boom, it affected other people, and now they have kids and they're sober. And so we have to create a space where we're just going out and doing our thing, not doing what I used to do, which is called pecking, which I deem that pecking is pecking my advice at everybody. Hey, do this, you should eat better, do this, do this. No, just going out and being the best version of yourself, because that's going to show up and other people are going to be inspired by that. And that's all you can do. And so now you came out of that space and your business is blowing up and you're hiring people and you're crushing it. Like, I really think that when you look back in 10 to 15 years, like this moment in time, like it just so happened that you had to miss the hottest real estate market in 100 plus years, but it doesn't matter. And that's the thing, is everybody has FOMO. Well, I missed this, I missed that. It's like, dude, no, just do you. And it's always there.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't remember what podcaster who said it, but there was the acronym for time. Today is my everything. And we have this finite life. And I think continuing to see your life as very finite and this small window where you get to affect the world. And again, just be yourself is empowering if you let it be. And I agree. I think it's again, going back to the real estate portion, it's seeing into these people's lives and sometimes saying, hey, is everything all right? Like, everything good with you? Like, really, truly, I want to know. And then being willing to be vulnerable and say, look, I don't know if you know this, but this is what's happened in my life in the last 2 years. And you can go through it. And it's powerful. I really have found like my calling, and calling, right, is a strange thing. Cause like I said, I never thought I'd get into real estate. And I always trying to find pathways out of real estate. Cause I keep thinking it's something that I'm not truly excited about every day. But then when I realized it's about people and getting in deep into people's lives every day, I've doubled down on it. And I want to see other people successful in real estate too, because it's something when done consistently every day can be huge.
As my fiance says about me, she's like, it's pretty evident what you're thinking. Like, you're not hiding it. And I know that might not be everybody's cup of tea, but everybody that's involved with me, the client that I just signed last night, was like, dude, it's pretty obvious who you are. He's like, it's not like, he's a good old Texas boy. And he's like, it's not like you're hiding it from anybody. And I was like, and he shared something with me that was very close and not great to talk about. And he was like, that's why I know we're going to be fine, because, we're open and honest with people. And I think, look, I don't spew some of my stuff around for everybody, but when the moment's needed, the number one thing that people say about me is there's no judgment. Like, there's no judgment. It's support. It's pure support.
Well, it's interesting because my whole life I've been kind of a chameleon. I mirror and match people really, really well. And so sometimes coming out of that, especially when I was younger, I would just feel gross. Like, why was I mirroring that person? That person was an awful human being. And now I realize they're just in pain. But I've stopped mirroring and matching as much. And I feel so much better as a human. Now, some of it's to develop a rapport is okay, I think. But I'm kind of dropping that now and saying, this is who I am. This is what you get. And if we're not in alignment, it's no big deal. Like, I'm tired of trying to keep every client. You know what I mean? Like, I want my people. I'm trying to create my world. And you fit in it. That's amazing. I'm glad. If not, no big deal. I'm glad we met, and I'm glad you could show me part of your life.
As my good friend says, it's really nice to just weed out people really quickly.
Well, my therapist had me do an exercise because my whole gig is just reaching out to people, right? And when you stop reaching out to people and seeing who actually reaches back out.
You know my favorite quote? Stop watering the plant for 30 days and see how long you've been watering weeds.
Yeah.
And
it's true.
And it's hard, right? It's hard because I'm busy, and the people that I knew, like my best friends, it's like, like they're busy with their jobs, they're busy with their kids. And like I told them, I said, guys, I'm sick and tired of being the one to always reach out and do the thing. So if you're not going to do it, like, dude, we'll play golf, we'll hang out, but I'm not going to sit here and be the only one beating the drum. And the thing is like, now we have what I've always wanted, which is we're traveling. I've got the person I care about the most. And then everybody in my life is a fuck yes. Right. My dad, my mom, my stepmom, my business partners, my friends, everybody, there's nobody I'm laboring against. And I felt like when I was drinking, there was a lot of laboring, like, oh, I got to get on that phone call. Oh, I gotta do that thing I don't want to do. And like, and I don't labor anymore because I just won't put up with it. Like, it's as simple as that. And so it's really exciting to have a fuck yes every time you're stepping into something.
Well, I'll be honest, when I found you, I think it was probably an Instagram post. And then I listened to a couple podcasts, and I waited to reach out for a while. And I think I told you this way back when, but the podcast you did where you say, stop listening to podcasts, like stop the input and just start, it's more of you have enough information. You have enough of these things to just take action. And I was in a holding pattern in a lot of ways. And now I am in this place where I don't care if it's messy. I'm just taking action. And it's going to be messy. And I didn't realize, I learned this in rehab, that I was a perfectionist. So I'm like, no, I don't care if things are perfect. Like, everything doesn't have to be, but internally I was a perfectionist. Everything internally had to work. Like, if I didn't work out first thing in the morning, got my workout in, my day was over. Like, I was ruined. I was going to have a bad attitude all day long because a kid woke up and was in my face, whatever it was. And now I'm just like, there's a new day every day to be the best version of myself. And I got to forgive myself every day. Like, just let it go, man. Like, there's none of this is that serious. None of it. Like, the only things that truly matter in life are my family and my friends that are fuck yeah friends. And everything else is superfluous. The things, even the business. If it's not serving me, what's the point? Like, I don't care like how I rank or how much money as long as it's serving the overall thing. And I never understood when people would rank God, family, friends, work. And I'm like, I don't understand ranking it. But honestly, now I kind of do. And why does like building a business and that become your whole identity anymore? And frankly, it's kind of a nice time when I can tell clients like, hey, I'm with my kids right now. I'm not going to talk about this, but let's talk at this time. And I feel like, because I grew up in this business, my dad would say, I'm sorry, I'm on another appointment. Can I call you later? And I would be like, Dad, we're at T-ball practice or whatever. I can't tell them that. And I think our generation's like, that's amazing. Go be with your kids. This can wait. And people that aren't like that don't understand that, like, out of my world.
The girl that's working with me right now, it's her anniversary, and she was like, well, I need to do this. And I was like, did I put a time limit on the task? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, well then go be with your husband. Like, I'll talk to you on Thursday. And she's like, oh, this is new. And I'm like, yeah, because like we're a long game here. We got a long game. Like, and I don't care if you work out at 4. I don't care if you work at 4 a.m, 11 o'clock at night. It doesn't matter when you do get to work, as long as the work gets done. And, I credit my silent business partner that nobody sees because he has to be nameless because he's raising some kids and he's in the military. But in 4 years, he'll be running the companies. He was working with me for like 6 months, and he like, hey man, can I talk to you? And I was like, yeah. He's like, hey man, so everybody's not you, and we don't have a tank that runs like you do. And he's like, if you keep running everybody like this, you're going to have nobody around you. He said, so listen, you can go run like crazy, but this is how I'm going to run. And if you're okay with that, we can be partners. And it was the first time that somebody said like, oh, everybody doesn't have to be me. And they just let me run. And then I go back and, I go tell them, okay, this is what we're going to do. Blah, 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 blah. And so it's like, it was the first time somebody said like, hey, because I noticed, if I'm being like 100% transparent, now, but there was our own issues in our marriage, and there was other things that she was dealing with. But I realized at the end of the day, the reason that we got divorced is that she was trying to keep up with me, and she didn't want to. And she knew where I was going, and she felt like if she didn't do that, then she wouldn't. It's very complex, but basically she was trying to live up to where I was headed, and she didn't want to be there. That wasn't her life's path. And that's where the tension was in our relationship. And the moment that we removed that, I remember it like it was yesterday. We finally decided to get separated, and we sat on the porch and we talked for like 3 hours. And it was the first time that we talked in 8 years. Like, it was the first time that we had a conversation about the two people that joined this, that were friends, that were fucking friends, because we knew that our paths weren't aligned anymore. And ever since then, like, we're good. I'm happy for you. You're happy for you. Go. And it was like, we were stopped lying to ourselves about what we were doing, and we just were us. And I had a guy that I interviewed before this, and he said that he realizes that in his life as a father and a business owner, every time it's been the truth, like his truths, it's always been right. Like, he knew exactly what he should have been doing in that moment. And it was his business idea. And he felt good about where he was. He's like, it's always been the right thing. It's in the moments that I lied to myself about this thing that I thought I should do, that it didn't go good. The business partner fucked me over. Or I wasn't successful. And so the question is when's the last time that you got truthful with yourself on what you need out of life? And 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with business.
Yeah, no, I agree. And this is not a fault on my wife, but because it ultimately comes back to me. But she's so used, and they talked about this in rehab. Your spouse is going to get used, is not going to know what to do with you as a healthy human being, because you've been unhealthy your whole life. And me being home and being much more clear on what I want, and not being this victim anymore, and not blaming other people anymore. Sometimes she still hears blame, and she can react that way, very defensive. Like, don't blame me, Patrick. Don't point the finger this way. And I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry. Like, it took a while for me to figure it out. Like, you're reacting to the old me still.
Well, welcome to my relationship with my father and myself.
Right.
And it was Angelo Cisco, my buddy. And he said, adults, especially men, do not graduate their relationship with their father. And he said, the moment that you graduate your relationship to not being a father, he is a friend and a knowledge seeker, and you're grown up now, is the moment that you have peace. And so now, I swear to God, I talked to my dad twice a year. I was done with that interview. I looked at my phone and my dad texted me.
Mm.
And ever since then, I was so light and bright on the phone. Now we're texting every day. Now I'm going to see him for the first time in 4 years and 30 days. And just because you've changed or you've got sober or you've moved on doesn't mean that people in your life don't need some time to get comfortable with the new version of yourself. And so the internal person can change very quickly, and it changes, and we're done with it. We put it down. We fucking shot it. We're done. Like that person, like fuck that person. Like I'm done. But here's why I continue to connect with people. Because when I'm writing or I'm telling you this podcast or I'm telling you this story, I'm thinking about the guy that didn't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing to the guy that didn't have all the answers. And so we have to have a little compassion for the people in our life, because they're having to get comfortable with the new identity of us. And it takes a little time because they were hurt in a different way. They were wronged in a different way. We wronged ourselves. We can internalize that and we can fix that real quick, but they were hurt in a different way. And so we have to have a little space to allow them to catch up. When they do, oh my God, that love is so much stronger, because they're excited, because when you change, what they're asking for is consistency. My dad asked very, very simple thing of me. I'm tired of the words. Show me the movement. Show me the movement. Right. And when I started showing them the movement, I stopped showing them the words, man. Relationship changed, because that was my whole life. That was my whole 20s. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Why don't anybody believe in me? No, now I got to run through the flame first, and then people will invest in me.
I get that.
But like what's interesting about you, right? Just from an outside perspective, like, look out, like, look the fuck out. Because, when I met you, you said, man, I tried to build a team, can't build a team, doesn't work for me. I'm a solo guy. But now you're building a team. Now you're inspiring other men. Now you're a pillar in your community, because the pillar fell. And now the pillar gets rebuilt with strong footings.
Well, and I always thought the team was for me. I need these people. No, they need me. Like, I'm building it for them. Like, I want them generating big income, growing their lives and changing, and being a part of something bigger. And as soon as I had that mind shift that this isn't for me, it's for them, I'm like, let's get them on. Let's get them on board. And it's humbling when people rely on you and want your input. But, going back to the dad thing, I was sitting on the porch at the rehab facility, and I was like outside of Phoenix, and beautiful view. And I'm reading a book on codependence, because I didn't realize I was acting codependent. And it was talking about relationships, like exactly what you're talking about, and it timeline, like how long it takes to heal these things. And it was like 3 to 5 years to like fix yourself, to fix your relationships, and to start growing again together, with whether it be a spouse or a family member. And I had what felt like my first like genuine panic attack, because I was like, wait, I can't fix this shit right now. Like, come on, let's go. Like, I want to do this right now. And I could not appreciate the time and the process involved. And now that's the really part that matters. Those moments where you get to connect and build and work on it. Because that's one of my therapist's things he gave me to say to my wife when she's frustrated with me is, genuinely, I'm just trying to connect with you and grow with you. That's what I want right here. This is what I'm talking about. If it doesn't come out that way, I'm sorry. This is what I'm trying to be. Is I want to be your partner. I want to connect. I want to grow. Sorry if it came out wrong.
No.
And when I started saying that over and over again,
that.
she really just like, she saw that it was true. It was messy. I didn't know how to do it.
It's pure intention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Intentionality is everything. What's the intention? Right.
Right.
You know how I know it was a good podcast? We didn't talk about real estate at all. That's how I know.
I was kind of glad we didn't, honestly. I love it.
Dude,
really, anybody can get into real estate and do real estate well. And I love that there's so many facets to it.
I know why you're so successful in real estate, because right now I just want to give you money. I don't know. You make me like you, man. What can I say? So if people want to, follow you around, it's not that you post much. It's not that you're around, but I'm sure soon you will be. So if people want to follow you.
I'm there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Just Patrick Birdsong, the Bird Home Life. And yeah, you're right. Like I really, and I'm going to leave you with this. I realize that the personal parts of my life, I want to be personal. I don't want to share those moments that are for me and my kids and my wife on social media anymore. It's not for those people, especially those that want to judge it, and, tears come here. I'm struggling finding what I put out there and what I keep for me. So there will be a version of me out there that's true and real, but mostly those things that are with my kids and my wife, that real stuff, that's me. That's for me. I'm going to be selfish with it, man. I can't help it. I love it.
Love it. No, so much passion, guys. Fucking deal with it, guys. He's crying. He's happy. He's crushing it. Yeah, deal with it. Guys, if you like this episode, share it with your friends. Send it to somebody who gets some value. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.